Okay, I guess we'll start. Well, it's 2 minutes. We still have 2 minutes. I think everyone is here though. Willard isn't here as yet.
Willard has a way of forgetting.
Well, he called me this morning to tell me that he's not at home, but he'll
Very
call
good.
in on his cell phone on WhatsApp,
Yes, okay.
and he'll read it from his WhatsApp.
Right.
He'll do the
Well,
Zoom.
it's good to know that it hasn't slipped him today.
No. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Krishna. Welcome.
Yeah, I said hi, thanks.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thanks,
Thank
and
you.
same to you.
We're enjoying 38 and 39 degrees Celsius for the whole week.
Ooh,
So I have the fan blowing in my face. I'll turn off the microphone.
Oh my
hopefully.
goodness,
You
and
should-
I thought it was hot here.
you should
Where
come
are
here.
you?
It's 10 Celsius right
Oh
now,
gosh, no.
but sunny.
I can't do that again.
Ontario.
¿Dónde está en este momento?
Ah,
I love when he says,
estoy en Mérida, Mexico.
Oh, muy bien, gracias.
Aha. And April and May, it could get to 40 degrees
Oh no.
every single day. So I
Oh
kind
my
of hide
goodness.
and then come back out, in the evening.
but I see Canada created a new law now in Toronto where the landlords are going to be required to put AC in
Oh,
units.
really? When I lived there, they didn't have to. It's only if they wanted to.
Well, I guess because of the heat.
Yes, it's getting hot every year.
I have a friend who lives in Dubai,
Uh-huh.
and he and his family every summer they would come to New York where it's 40. They come there to cool off in
Yes, yes.
40 degrees, 40 Celsius.
I know
Because
quite a
back in
few.
Dubai, it's about 50.
50, yes, yes. Well, some expats here, they disappear. I have two friends who left for the whole month of May. They said they won't come back till mid-June because it's kind of debilitating, really. I get dizzy and my ankles swell up. But
Yeah, that's
you have to choose what hours you walk out on the road. And midday yesterday I was on the road. So when I came home, I just just had to take a cold shower and go to bed and reflect.
Stay hydrated. Keep
Or
hydrated.
everything. I don't know what is overheated, dehydrated, everything.
It's a new meaning to hot foot.
Yes, hot foot is.
wow.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting on that. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It is May 10th, 2026, and this is our Mother's Day meeting. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the group. Thank you for sharing your day with us. And our lovely hosts, Heather, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to hand right over.
Welcome, everyone. We have quite a lineup today, and we're looking forward to all the stories. We will begin with Mr. Motilal Voodoo Singh and A Mother's Love. You ready there, Moti?
Yeah, thank you, Heather. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I was just trying to get the large print. So I think I'm much better now. Okay, thank you. Here goes. Mothers, the real superheroes. In an earlier time, I remember the late Sundar Popo singing. A mother's love we must never forget. Wrong things we do, child, we bound to regret. Many nights she lost her sleep to nurse you from her breast. Many nights she woke up late and put you to rest. Many nights she grieved to see you grow from infancy. And many nights she wanted to know whatever you will be. So use your conscience and sympathy. God said to worship she and then come to me. God says to worship she and then come to me. Indeed, the mothers are the real superheroes. In my village of Gopi Trace Pinal, it was the woman who kept the family together, like Boise Kaki, who was the true head of the panchayat, and not her husband Berich, who carried the title, like Kisun Aji, who, after she was widowed, opened a parlor and brought up her 7 children by herself, like Mrs. Gosain, who taught the village girls how to sew, Parasnani, who delivered babies and rubbed Nara and Butchet, Chari Mani, who rubbed Hasuli and charried jaundice, Pua, who ran the parlor up the road and took care of her grandchildren when her daughter became ill, Lalchan Kemai, who had the rice mill, Kishan's mother, who had acres of rice land and provided employment to the villagers, Alu Mausi, who sold in the Pinal market and sent all 5 of her girls to high school and was proud when they became teachers, and so many others whose only purpose in life was for her children to become successful. Yes, it was the woman in my village that was the backbone of the society. Not that the men didn't contribute. As I look back, I think most of the men in the village were to some degree alcoholics. Even the teachers, Kenneth and Ramrup, drank heavily. The men would work and on Fridays, which was payday, go to John's shop and drink with their friends. Many of the little boys, me included, would go to the shop and ask their fathers for money for their mothers to run the house for the week before they spend it all on rum. I grew up watching my mother, Raju, face every difficulty that life gave her. She went through hell at times, crying during the nights, but woke up every morning and did an awesome job of bringing up her 9 children. She was determined that her children have a better life than her and felt that education was the way to do this. My father, who worked with a contractor and loved the source, had little time to supervise us. Most of the time, he was not at when he was not at work, was spent drinking and liming with his friends. In order to move us from an old carrot house on rented land, my mother did many jobs. She was a master of multitasking. She was a seamstress, a market vendor, a rice planter, a home gardener, a cow owner and grass cutter, sewing tutor, full farm farmer, and she still had time to the to be the lead singer at the Matikora and Barahi celebrations and at the temples for religious occasions. She took a loan from Barclays Bank to buy a lot of land and started to build a galvanized and board house for the family. My mother was the one who went to the school for meetings with the teachers, signed us up to write common entrance, took us to register at high school, and accompanied us for the first day at school. She took us to carnival and insisted that we attend the temple. She was particularly concerned about religious practices. While my father worked online, the running of the house, groceries, market, and children care were left to Ma. She made the arrangement for prayers as well as celebrating the various religious observances. Although my father had grown up in a Hindu home, even school in the Ramayana, he seemed to have fallen back from the prayerful practices of his youth. He no longer made offerings at his chandi and often complained about the number of holy rites in Hinduism. Nearly every time is fasting, fasting, he would grumble, as my mother would insist on a vegetarian diet when we had prayers. After a while, he stopped accompanying her when she sat down for puja, saying that someone should be free to welcome the guests. Even when they attended prayers at relatives, my father and the other men would go to the rum shop, only returning when food was being served. One incident remains with me to this day about her devotion to her religion. When we started building the house, my mother insisted that they perform Bhumi Puja, which was the tradition of offering praise to God and Mother Earth. Bhumi Puja is also done to seek forgiveness from the living things that take shelter on the ground. One may harm them during construction, or they might get displaced. Bhumi Puja is also done to seek the blessings of Lord Ganesha and the other gods to ensure that the work takes place smoothly after it begins. The Pandit was consulted, and a suitable spot was identified to put down the first post. My father was entrusted with this function, but he half-heartedly participated. After puja, he began digging the hole for the first post. He reached a few feet when he struck his big toe with the fork. It began to bleed heavily. All work stopped as he made his way to the San Fernando hospital. When he returned in the evening, the hole was filled with water that seeped from underground, thus preventing the planting of the pillar. Later that night, in pain and with remorse, he confessed to my mother, Raju, that he did not pay proper respect when the Bhumi Puja was being done. That night, my mother prayed to Dharti Mata for forgiveness for her husband. She decided that she will conduct the Bhumi Puja herself the next day. The water abated, the pillar was planted, and the house was on the way. My father had a stroke when he was 50. My mother took care of him and still managed to educate her children. Today, we are all university graduates. Sundar Popo sang, never treat your mother bad, never make her sad. Make your mother happy and glad, she'll never wish you bad. You never miss the water till the well run dry. Just like the mother when she closes her eyes. Blessings to all mothers who are the real superheroes. Thank you and happy Mother's Day to all.
Thank you, Motilal. Your in voice, as usual, beautiful. Let's, any comments?
Well, you see, I mentioned your auntie here.
I was going to say, Mrs. Gosain is my auntie, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Very inspiring piece.
Okay, I have a question for Motilal. I was wondering if you would have been a Calypsonian in another life. What do you think about that?
You could have
Okay,
called
to
yourself
answer
Moti Popo.
that, I used to be what you'd call a rum shop singer.
Okay,
We,
okay.
in an earlier time, we used to visit the rum shop and we used to beat the table, beat a rhythm on the table and sing. But I've stopped drinking over 35 years now. So it's something of the past. And it's something that I've never regretted doing.
Mhm.
It changed my life because um, I was supposed to know better, seeing how my father was. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I went in that particular direction. But
Yeah.
God put his hand on me and I've changed. 35 years now, nothing. Thank you.
Motilal, one of the things that I love about your work is that you always give such tribute to women. You know, or even in your stories. I mean, you write this about your mother, which is she's a powerful woman. I mean, what an amazing woman she was. But even in your other writings, I mean, there's always a story about a woman who is inspiring the community, that's, really holding up the community. And I just love that about your work. And also, of course, I love your singing. So it's always good to hear that. Okay.
Yes, in my village, it was really the women in my time when I was growing up who really held the fort, because people died, the mothers, the grandmothers, the various, neighbors, all of that. It was the women indeed that um, held the community together and made us what we became.
If I may, Heather,
Yes,
if I may add a bit.
go ahead.
Just what Arlene was saying, said. I was thinking it's a lovely tribute to your mother, Moti. 9 children, all graduates. Very good reason. I, I saw how you controlled your presentation of the father in this um in this piece. You exercise a great deal of control. While Moti was reading the big print, I was following the print in this book, Aji or Nani Kahanis. You will find the story, Mothers, the Real Superheroes, on pages 55 to 58. I also want to congratulate you, Moti, on your recent stint at the Boca's Lit Fest. It was wonderful. I looked at it. I enjoyed it. You said you came in costume with your apron and thing of the pressman. Moti had to write a story based on an artifact, an object of memory, and he had to write on the press shaver. Well done, Moti. So I congratulate you on that, and I congratulate you on this piece also.
Thanks, Krish. Thanks, Krish.
You're welcome.
Incidentally, I was commissioned. I have to receive a small check for that piece that they
Well,
asked me to write.
well, I didn't want to ask that. So I hope from that small, I hope you get your check because it was a brilliant piece. I looked at the one on the rifle also, and there were two others. One was a poetry,
The
the
jug and the
poetry.
basin, and the other
Right,
one was a spoken word.
right. So, but I just looked at yours and the one with the rifle. I didn't look at the others closely. Okay.
Anything else? If not, we will move on to Cynthia, who has two pieces, My Mother and What the Sea Keeps, from our colleague, Jamir Nazir. Cynthia, are you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I am just using what I delivered about my mother in 1997. And I really wish, from what I'm hearing, I really wish there were more mothers like this. So I'll go right into it. My mother, Editha Violet Mural, nay field. I've decided to share some thoughts on my mother this year, since her influence on the lives of her daughters should not go unsung. On the 15th of March, 1995, 2 days after Mummy's 88th birthday, these words of scripture came strongly to my mind. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust doth consume, and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, for where thy treasure is, there will thy heart be also. Matthew 6:19-21. These words crystallize for me the legacy which Editha Violet Murrell has bequeathed to us, her daughters, and no doubt to those with whom she came into contact during the course of her life. The lasting influence of the indomitable character of Editha is probably best illustrated in vignettes of her life, such as when her late niece, Sheila, was a little girl and had a spot of trouble with her friends, at school, I think it was. Sheila promptly retorted, "I'm going to call my Auntie Ditha. My Auntie Ditha don't make joke, you know." And indeed, Auntie Ditha didn't make joke. She never made joke. You did what she said or else. The value of the discipline and self-discipline that Mummy taught us by precept, yes, but especially by example, cannot be too highly commended. For instance, going to church was not a matter of whether you wanted to or not. You just had to go. Your chores were set, and there was absolutely no question of your not doing them. Sooner or later, you did them. Yet, hand in hand with discipline came the legacy of laughter. This was a feature of life in the Field household, my grandparents' home where I live now. It was a large family, at whose home many friends foregathered, and where happy laughter rang out. Our Barbadian grandfather, Ernest Adolphus Field, had decreed, "Never sacrifice a joke for the sake of a friend." And so we never did. This innate happiness and contentment remained with Editha to the end. At times she could be quite cross, but a smile was never far away. Mummy was also highly adaptable. It could be that this developed from being the wife of an itinerant Methodist minister, but it was a quality which impressed us even up to recent times. Mummy could welcome readily a change of scene as well as accept new friends into her life. She responded for the most part pleasantly to those who cared for her lovingly over the past few years. And the last few years, 2 or 3 years, she had to be in a home because both my sister and I were working full time. And we couldn't afford to maintain her at home with 2 caregivers. So when Mummy was in even her last stages in the homes, she would still say, "Thank you, dear," when handed her lunch or her tea. She never lost those polite responses. We cannot think of Editha without thanking God for her devotion as a wife and mother. Mummy cared for us unselfishly and was indefatigable in her efforts to ensure that we received the education that she had been denied. In the days of her youth, it was more often the boys who were given the opportunity to study further, and this was one of the deep regrets of Editha throughout her life. Her quickness of intellect leaves us in no doubt that she would have been formidable in the career of her choice. Mummy was very level-headed, very practical. The supreme example of this was when in June 1948, the town of Castries, St. Lucia was on fire, and Daddy was quietly standing at a door looking on and saying, "Oh, that won't reach us." Mummy quietly continued packing essentials and ensuring that blankets to wrap the children were left in one spot should they be needed. They were. I think my sister was about 2, and that means I would have been, well, she may have been going on 2 and I was probably going on 6. But I can remember the little parts of what happened that night. I can remember the bundle of Leonie, my baby sister, just 6 days short of her 3rd birthday, being carried aloft through the smoke-filled night. Now, you'll have to picture a place where there was never electricity. We did not have electricity in those days. So the night of the fire, the brightness was probably coming from the fire, and if there were stars, any stars, but there was so much smoke, I doubt it. But I remember that we were being taken across the town to safety. I myself was 6, going on 7, and trotted along, held by someone's hand. I don't remember who it was. Another quality which has stamped itself on us is Editha's deep faith. Steeped in Methodist tradition, our mother passed on to us firm conviction that God has a master plan. So that on Wednesday night, February the 5th, I said to myself, well, any time that I pray, I receive a prompt answer. So I said, Lord, please don't allow Mummy to have to go through the ordeal of hospital again. By 3:55 a.m., she had passed on in her sleep. Throughout Editha's years, as the wife of a Methodist minister, she continued to play the organ and piano. Mummy also contributed to the Girls' League and Women's League wherever she lived. Yet another hallmark of Editha was her humility. We have always been made to be fully aware that we are human, frail, and exist only under God's jurisdiction, so that we have always been encouraged to be kindly disposed to our fellow human beings, to be charitable and generous to others, and to be thoughtful and considerate of people. A rich legacy indeed, and yet incomplete, for I have left the best wine for the last, music. Mummy continued to play the piano, read her music, even move her fingers as though she was playing the piano, long after she forgot many words or ideas. She would hum a line or a verse because music was within her. In her life with Daddy, she delighted in teaching the choirs and congregations unfamiliar hymns. So that expansion of knowledge, widening of experience, informed their ministry. Daddy had a lovely tenor voice, Mummy sang soprano, so that following their example, Leonie and I often invited them to our concerts. I remember particularly the concerts we held for our parents in San Fernando. Our programs would include piano recitals and duets, solos or vocal duets and recitations. We always had an appreciative audience. Our parents, of course. Mummy's strength of character and Christian fortitude enabled her to play the organ at the funeral of her infant daughter, Doreen Margaret, the year before I was born. So I had 2 sisters. One I didn't know, and then the other one who was born in St. Lucia. She died when she was 62. So that's going on 19 or 20 years ago. And when Daddy died in February 1975, Mummy played the organ for the service. This funeral was at Hanover Methodist Church, the very church at which they had been married in 1937. That was the last occasion on which Mummy played at church. So in essence, the life of Editha has been an inspiration to us. She spared nothing in the upbringing of her children. It was she and Daddy who taught us clear diction, good deportment, good manners. They endeavored to instill in us right and Christian thinking, and we deem ourselves blessed to have had our mother with us for most of our lives. Mommy died just a month before she was 90. The influence of Editha, with its selfless devotion to duty and close attention to godliness, will never depart from us. So I actually used Mummy's eulogy and put this together on the 30th of April this year for Mother's Day today. Next, I will go on to Jameer's poem, unless you wish me to break here. I don't know who's going to read his other poems. Mutilal, who's reading the other one by Jameer?
It's
Willard.
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 Yeah. And that's comes after Cassie.
All right. I wondered whether I shouldn't read his later on after Willard. You know,
Okay.
I read both of Jameer's together. What do you
Okay.
think?
That's fine with me.
Yes, you can go ahead and read it, Cynthia. No problem.
What's that?
You can go ahead and read it. No problem with me. It's fine with me.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. So we'll go on to the next, and then when Willard is reading, then we'll do this second poem, Mother's Day by Jameer. What is
Well, then we should have some comments on your piece on my mother. So we'll go ahead with any comments for Cynthia's work.
Well, what I would like to say that knowing Cynthia, that her mother certainly did a great job. So congratulations to your mother, Cynthia, and at the same time, all mothers, they really want the best for their children.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was good to hear a bit about your childhood and the fire. I enjoyed hearing about, your mother saw the inclement danger and prepared, even if nobody else was thinking it would get to you. It was quite interesting.
Thank you.
Well, Cynthia, those qualities that your mother instilled in you, no doubt comes across as in your role as a teacher. So you've carried on the bishop's tradition in that way, because that is the way that is the deportment that we were taught at school in my day. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you too. Yeah.
Jenny Lynn, she was your teacher, so you can attest to that.
Yes, certainly. Certainly.
Well, the next person to read is Cassie. Is he? I'm not sure he's here. Motilal, do you see him there on the screen anywhere?
I'm not seeing him coming in.
Okay, well, maybe we will go on to Willard, and then Cynthia can do the poem, and then we'll have both of Jameer's together. So Willard, would you move forward with your reading?
Okay, Heather, fine, thanks. And good afternoon to everyone. And happy Mother's Day to all you fine ladies, Okay, well, Mochilal asked me to, let me see if I can do this, to read Jameer's poem. And so I will just have to get to the WhatsApp. Yes. Are you all hearing me by any chance?
Yes.
You are. Okay. So I'm sorry I have to be off camera. Okay. The poem is entitled "Yard at First Light," and it goes like this. Before the island finds its breath, she is awake, moving through the blue half-light with a basin of water. the yard still holding night. Wet earth, a split mango loosening its sweetness under the first sharp call of a kiskadee, and the far cough of a maxi taking the road. She knots her hair without a mirror, measures morning by habit, not by clock. Kettle, prayer, broom, hiss on concrete. A rhythm older than the house, older than her name. In the kitchen, flour turns to roti, rhythmic against the tower, each fold a small covenant that the day will hold. There are shirts to press, names to keep, coins counted twice on a narrow table, and the long arithmetic of living she never learned in any book. Outside, the sun lifts without asking, and she steps into it, carrying everything. They will call her strong, as if strength were chosen, but strength is only what remains. After long has given all it can and refuses to leave. Sorry, after love has given all it can and refuses to leave, by midday the island will rise into its noise. Horns, vendors, the heat climbing, the zinc, but in the small order of her making, the swept yard, the pot set right, the child sent out clean, a country is mended quietly again and again. No one marks the moment she pauses at the doorway, one hand resting against the frame, as if to steady the world, measures what she has kept from breaking, and turns back to the day without witness. And that's the end of this poem by Jamira entitled Yard at First Light. And thank you very much for letting me read.
Thank you, Willard. Very nicely
You're
delivered.
welcome. Thank you.
Comments, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. Jameer Nazir, is he the gentleman who lives in Denmark?
No.
Okay. Well, is he? I'm trying to connect the name. Maybe a short biography about him, or did he recently win a prize at the Bocas Lit Fest?
BBC, the BBC short story competition. He's run up.
Okay. I think I read something about him on Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice to have a short bio about him, who he is, and where he's from. And yeah, that would be nice.
Motilal, can you help us out with a few facts about Jameer? I think Motilal knows him quite well.
Okay.
Motilal?
Maybe he's checking.
Could
So has
be.
he been? Has he
I
been
know
on?
he lives in South Trinidad.
Okay,
And yeah,
Heather,
and
I hear
yes.
now. He lives in
Okay.
South Trinidad. He lives in Pinal Rock Road. He used to be an officer in the Prime Minister's office, the various Prime Ministers. He was a senior person in there. And he's Krishna just said he's a runner-up, but as far as he's a finalist, he's among the 5 people finalists for the Bocas. So not sorry for the Caribbean Short Story Prize.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's difficult for Jamri to be with us most of the times because he has the big C, suffering with cancer, and he has to be constantly taking chemo and all that. So it's very, very difficult for him to come with us.
Was he on this program once?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yes.
The name just rings a bell. And I thought I read he had won a prize, probably on Mutilal's Facebook page.
Yes.
And yeah, okay. Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Well, we'll have to go back to Cynthia now because she reads the
Yeah.
second of Jameer's poem. This one is um, what
What
the
the sea keeps.
what the sea keeps. That's right. Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
so the sea does not forget, and neither does she. In her voice there are crossings, not spoken, but carried. A grandmother stepping from a ship with nothing but seeds and breath. Another learning to stand in a language not her own. And all the unnamed who stitched belonging out of loss and long remembering. On this island where every shore is a beginning, she stands between past and child, like a quiet bridge of flesh and memory, her body keeping what history tried to scatter, her silence holding more than any record. You see her on a Sunday, dressed in starched white, a hymn resting somewhere behind her eyes, the pitchfork warm beneath her feet as she walks to prayer. But the prayer began long before the church, in hunger endured, in nights kept whole for others, in the soft, unyielding refusal to let despair take root. Mother's Day arrives with its bright rehearsals, flowers, polished words, as if love were sudden, as if it had not been building for years in the small, unrecorded mercies of her hands, in every quiet decision to stay. What can we give her? The sea keeps asking. No hibiscus can measure the salt she has carried. No Sunday lunch returns the years she has stretched into shelter. Even gratitude comes late, like a tide that learns too slowly what it owes the shore. Still, she receives it, not because it is enough, but because she has always known how to take what is given, however small, and turn it patiently toward grace. And somewhere beneath the day's noise, the sea speaks her name, not loudly, not for the world, but in that old, unending tongue that knows what it is to endure, to carry, to forgive, and to love without witness. Jameer Nazir, 2026.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Thank you.
Welcome.
We'll ask for comments.
Well, I would just like to say briefly.
Krishna is muted.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Althea, if you...
No, I just wanted to say briefly that
Yeah.
there's lots of depth and meaning and in all of these poems that need to be deciphered. And there are two poems that I could see in the discussion group, people talking about the deeper meaning of, these layers. There's so many layers there filled with deep meaning. And yeah, lots of things that we can take away and talk about. That's all.
Yeah, what I was saying is the two poems reflect the great potential that Jameer reveals as a poet. I like the movement in that second poem. from line to line. It was very, very what? Very good. The lines carry on a certain movement. Um, we get an idea that it was the case of the indentured servants coming into this island. And but the first one that that um, Willard read, Yard at First Light, that too is a very powerful poem. Just what Althea was saying, through using telling the narrative, giving the narrative through a series of images. One particular image I liked, very powerful in this poem, is when he talked about the arithmetic of living that was never learned in any book. That's a wonderful metaphor. The arithmetic of living never learned in any book, right, Frank? Frank, you're hearing it. I know Frank sometimes popular. He just try to follow and he prefer to see, the lyrics. But
Yeah.
a lyric like this, that one would stay. Um, and where he talked about, he used the image of the woman going about her business from morning to the twilight hour. And he ended up by saying, it's like a country is mended quietly. That's another, that's the climax of the poem. A country is mended quietly. And then she was doing this as if to steady the world. Lovely. So what I see is great potential as a poet from these two poems.
Thank you, Krishna. Jamir would be really heartened to hear this, especially he's in these trying times for him, undergoing chemo. So thank you so much for those comments. Anybody else?
Just I was wondering if has he ever spoken about the poets that inspire him? I thought of Derek Walcott,
Maybe, yes, yes.
Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Heather. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say he did talk. His one of his heroes is Derek Walcott. You're right.
Yeah.
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 Yes, he
Krishna,
did.
did you have
Because
something? Go
I
ahead.
know that Heather and Jamie usually speak. We call me, we talk every now and again. So yes, he talks about Walcott a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Althea, you actually, good thing you're on screen because you're next
Okay.
with hanging hearts on clotheslines, rope, and runners in the marathon of time. 3 pieces for us by Althea.
Yeah. I'd like to say that these 3 poems about intergenerational experiences experiences. The first poem, Hanging Hearts on Clothesline, is about me moving to West Africa, where I lived for 14, Liberia, West Africa, where I lived for 14 years, and my mother and grandmothers respond to me moving there and how they worried about me. When you're young and you move far away from your family, you don't think about the impact that it has on them. You're thinking about your life and what you want to do, and you want to get on with your own life, but you don't think about how this distance affects your relatives. So That's what the first hanging hearts and bearing our souls anyway, hanging hearts on clotheslines. So the first one, the first part is called Wounds. I said I was moving to West Africa. Gyal done lose she sense, going to the dark continent. Spat grandmother at my announcement. Speechless, stern-faced mother penned a letter of scalding words, questions my motive for moving to that God-forsaken place. When I put the Atlantic Ocean between us, I didn't know that doing what I wanted was launching spears at their hearts. Part 2, True Grit. I get married and I bear 3 children in that God-forsaken place. After knockdown bouts with malaria, I am a broomstick, collarbone sunken. I relive, thrive in my grandmother's bygone days, learn to start a fire, cook and grill on a coal pot, draw well water, kneel into the dirt of living. I rub shoulders with peril, make my own road through the bush when it is swallowed by flood, stare down the barrel of soldiers' guns, witness the hunt and capture of a pregnant python, listen to men talk about the potency of its head, the richness of its large eggs, escape the jaws of driver ants and a trap set by heartmen. I drive past my neighbor, mother of a Bassa chief and a condemned witch. She pays penance daily for her deeds, sits in mud on the roadside and sustains her bag of bones with boiled peanuts. The Caribbean lore about men gouging out hearts to make sacrifices become real, and I learn of new ones, the danger of lightning throwers, the Niger Rivi people who drag victims down into their underwater world. 3 lifelines. My mother's monthly letters are smudged with her tears. She wonders, what I gonna do if my child dead? A new letter from mother says, Granny dead 3 months ago. Didn't want burden you with worry. Throws cocoa bay panyas. Throw cocoa bay panyas. I wallow in the thought she needs to spare me from the news of lost loved ones. 4, no time walk. Anger floods me when I see mother again. She is a graying, bent woman. Who am I angry with? Time? At 72, she abandons me, leaves me an orphan just when I am beginning to fit womanhood's cloak. Okay, so that's that one. The second poem is called Rope. rope, the tug of war, the pulling of knotted rope, the stretching ends, the fraying ends, fingers red and burning from holding on, from waiting to see who is first to cave, who will lose their grip, mother or daughter. It is not a matter of winning or losing. It is the mother who must let go, reject the temptation to throw a lasso. The falling daughter will rise into her own. She will carry her mother's cautions in memory like a suitcase filled with clothes and take them out to wear one by one to see how well they fit. Beneath them all, her own long cord, the secret binding, the thickened string, the rope she too will pull when the tug of war comes. And the last one, runners in the marathon of time. And this is to my granddaughters. I have 3 granddaughters, 3 grandsons. To my granddaughters, you were the gifts we awaited, seed nurtured in love, brought to us through the strength of our daughters. Your lives, sung to us by our foremothers, prayed for in their boundless world, are the answers to our prayers, their prayers. You come from women who are neither willing victim nor victimizers. Our words passed on through time were never weapons of destruction, but wise pronouncements, stealing minds and backbones. You will witness the majesty, misery, and mysteries of this world. We will watch you stumble over obstacles, observe you slip and slide while scaling walls put up to hinder your dreams. We, your guardians, will let you find your way, oversee the road you take, allow you to become you. Your lives are our continuum. You are the torchbearers of the new generation. We pass the baton on, blood of our blood. Okay, so that's it from me.
Thank you, Althea. Very powerful poetry. Let's have some comments.
I particularly like the first one because I've read it through the email, and
Yeah,
what I was thinking that, and when we was going to school, and we used to we were taught that Africa is a dark continent.
yeah,
We used to have these history lessons, and we used to have what we used to call battle and teams, and we used to ask the other team questions. And
yeah,
one of the questions used to come up, well, what is the dark continent? And it was
yeah,
Africa. And a funny thing, I old now was 75. That happened when I was about 10. And I
yeah,
cannot remember anything about the other continents. But what I'd like to say to, in your time, and I could thinking, knowing the people in those days that, they didn't want you to go to Africa. They wanted you to go
yeah,
to England.
yeah, yeah,
You send your children to England to study and educate themselves or whatever, not to Africa. And
yeah,
I was doing this creative writing course with a Dr. Danny Lindsay,
Mhm.
and she's a Canadian white woman, and she went to Africa and got married to a black professor over there. And when she used to talk, so some of the things that you're saying in the poem, I could relate to them through my conversation with Dr. Danny
Yeah,
and all that, because she was here at UV for quite a while. She retired now.
yeah.
So just that I really like it, Althea, and so good to see you back with us.
Well, yes. Unfortunately, my husband isn't very well. And so right before a meeting, I had to give him his concoction of tablets and eye drops and all of that before the meeting started. So I'm trying my best to look after him.
Well,
Yeah.
Althea, you've now whet my appetite for learning more about Liberia. Because I've been to Ghana twice,
Yeah,
and it's never like what they say in the media when you visit African countries. It's a
yeah,
whole different scenario, and the media is
yeah,
still playing games with people's minds. But
yeah,
I have to speak to you sometime privately and learn about your life in Liberia because I'm so excited
yeah.
to,
But
to
you know, when I was born in Antigua and then I grew up in the US Virgin Islands.
yes.
But as a child in Antigua, I remember my father talking about heart men, people who would grab people at night and cut their hearts out and use their hearts to gain wealth and all of that. And so when I went to live in Liberia, where this was actually happening,
Ooh,
and so one night I was coming home late and there was a rope across the road and a lot of rocks across the road. And I was thinking, should I get out of my car to move the rocks? Or, you don't know who is waiting in the bush to
yes,
grab you. And so I think I drove over those rocks. So
yes,
that was so some of the things that we heard of growing up in the Caribbean that were brought over from Africa to the Caribbean, it's, very real. Of people sending lightning to strike your house in revenge and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Just in relation to what Althea just talk about, in Trinidad, growing up with us little children, 5 and 6, we were told to keep out the road off the road. Do not
Yeah.
stray in the bushes because the Yankees would take our liver to feed their race horses. I'm sure people Trinidadians who might be as old as I am, would have
Yeah.
heard about that.
Yeah.
My liver has since been preserved because of that. I was so scared about that. And I stayed at home because my dad told me the same thing.
Okay.
well, who knows,
So
there
I
might
have
be
my
some
liver
truth
today.
in it.
I have him to thank for having my liver as we speak.
Mhm.
Althea,
Yes.
hi. I mean, I really want to have your poems in front of me so I can sort of like read it very slowly and to just take it all in. But I mean, I did write down some of because your imagery is so powerful. I mean, there is a line about rub shoulders with peril. I think that I
Yeah.
heard that, which I thought, my God, what a wonderful way to capture that feeling of dread or whatever those feelings
Yeah.
you were having with rub shoulders with peril. And then there is something about you describing the state of you, the image of a broomstick. I think that I
Yeah.
that,
Well, that was malaria. I had chronic malaria. When
right,
you have malaria, you have no appetite.
right. But what a
Yeah.
what a wonderful way. I mean, one of the things, I'm not a poet. I by no means identify as a poet, but what as a fiction writer, I felt that was important because I studied poetry, but that was important for me to learn as a fiction writer how to write as a poet. Because I think that you poets can just sum up like create like a wonderful image of rubbed shoulders with peril. I mean, that's so wonderful. So, I mean, I want to be able to just look at your work and just sort of like just take it in slowly.
Okay. I posted it on Facebook, the 3 poems I read, so
Okay, so I'll
you
be
could
able
find
to,
them there. Yeah,
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 okay, great. Thank you so much.
you're
Thanks.
welcome.
Well, the next person on my list is Vishnu. It said that the topic is to be announced. Vishnu, do you have anything for us today?
Yes, I have two pieces,
Okay.
and I guess you're hearing me loud and clear. Okay.
Yes, we're hearing you.
I
So
would
you can
like
go
to
right.
read if I could divide them into two parts. The first one, I'll read, and then there's a shorter one I can read afterwards. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so the poem My is taken from this collection, Tempo in My Tongue by Jacqueline C. Paul. Talk to me, East Indian mother of this country. Tell me about yourself. Bring down them fading memories off the shelf. Talk to me, Mai. Tell me everything you can. From the day the Fatel Rozak dropped you here, from the time you put foot upon this sand and walk straight to the cane field, cutlass in hand to work for a meal. My, talk to me of the trouble you see, bringing up all them children, yet working side by side with them man and them, to plant sugar cane and rice for we. Tell me about that work, my sun baking, back breaking, salt and roti melting, and you keep toiling for wages next to nothing. Every 40 morning you're up, food to cook, children to see about, clothes to wash, barracks to clean before you leave to go out. And what about them barracks? Little 2 by 4, limited space to spread rice bag, to sleep on leafy floor. Walls tin, neighbors could hear if you whisper too loud, far more for when licks share. My, don't feel shame to admit the abuse you suffer from your husband and from the workmaster. Don't feel shame. To tell of the other workers as well. Don't feel shame. The ridicule and laughter aimed at you, my, your hungry, stained with curry, head tied with orny. But my, you stand strong, you never complain. Your years of struggle were not in vain. You come here with just a Jahaji bundle and a vision. Humbly start building for coming generations. Pawn your jewels to send your children to college. Do without so they could have privileges you never had. Now your children and grandchildren are doctors, teachers, lawyers. The rewards are worth sacrifices you suffered. With the cane and rice you plant in the ground, you help to build people, villages, and towns. Yes, I'm proud to say you help in making this country what it is today. You contribute plenty to a culture with the food you make squatting by that chulha. With the food you make squatting by that chulha. With the bhajans you sing as the cutlass ring with the values you instilled, the longings you fulfilled. Yes, Mai, talk to me. You have plenty to say. I need your wisdom to guide me on my way. So bring them down, Mai. Bring them down, memories off the shelf. Let the world know in your way you excelled. Thank you for listening. That's the first one.
Thank you, Vishnu. You can go ahead with the second and we'll
Okay,
comment on
fine,
both.
great. I'll do it one time. Sure.
Okay.
Gina, can we have some comments here before we lose what we just heard?
Oh, okay, well, go ahead.
Okay, well, for one, I could really, really relate to this because from the stories I've heard from the people I've observed in my village, and my is mother, and in when I was a little boy growing up, everybody in our village used to call my grandmother Mai. Although she wasn't their mother, everybody was Mai. And that poem there is by Jacqueline C. Paul, and I was wondering, this month is Indian Heritage Month in Trinidad, and where we are celebrating the achievements, and we're looking back at the um, problems that the East Indian people face, and that poem really captures it all. Even the part about the cutlass and the cane and all that, and then the tin walls and the husband beating the wives, and it's so real. So I want to thank Vishnu for getting that poem, and and then the way that he presented it, it was very good. And I was just wondering, there was a Francis C. Paul from Davie who was a Presbyterian minister and school principal, these Presbyterian school. I was wondering if Jacqueline C. Paul might have been from DB,
No,
where I lived in, DB Pinal. Thanks.
Jacqueline Sipol, sorry, Jacqueline Sipol is from San Grande,
Okay.
but she worked at Cuba Junior Sec. Actually, she succeeded me as teacher. And I met her just briefly. And I'm sorry I didn't stay to talk to her, not knowing she wrote poems. And when she passed away a couple of years ago, actually she sent those books to me. So I kind of in a way owe it to her to sort of keep her books alive. I mean, not that I promise her anything, but I just find her poems are nice. She has two collections of poems.
How is that C
Yeah,
Paul spelled? Is it SEE or SEU?
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
How do you spell C Paul? SEEPAUL or
It's her name is spelled Paul,
Paul?
Sual.
Because
Yeah.
that Francis Paul in Debe is the father of a very good friend of mine. We went to Naprema College together.
Oh,
So I would ask him.
I think the family of teachers. Yeah. And she spelled Jacqueline JCQULIN. It's not like Jacqueline. Anyway, can I read the other one now?
Yes, go ahead.
Sure. Okay. The other one is called, it's actually taken from 41 Trinidadian poets that was compiled by Anson Gonzalez, I think, in 2006. 2006. And in this collection, which I prize very much, I think Krishna has a poem here called, Chris, remember? It's called, oh, The Moon is Poetry. But that's not the one I'm going to read.
Yeah.
The one I'm going to read is called, since it's Mother's Day kind of thing. There is a Woman in Here by Rodlin Douglas. It is a little different to the Jacqueline zone. There is a woman in here, you all, a different kind of woman who's never been here before, in this body, in this soul, on this earth. No, she's never been here before. Can't see her face, but I sense her being. Can't see her eyes, but I can tell she's been crying. Can't see her smile. It's buried deep in sorrow. There is a woman in this body seeking to emerge, seeking to be free, seeking to be. There is a woman in here. Tradition caught up with reality. Old habits die, hard deaths. Man suddenly realizes woman has potential to cultivate a life. There is a woman in here fighting, a new woman emerging, struggling to give birth to her feelings. There is a woman in here, you all. There is a woman in this body. Thank you for listening. It's called There's a Woman in Here by Rodlin Douglas. And like I said, Anson Gonzalez again. I always digging into history. Thank you for listening. That's it.
Thank you very much, Vishnu, for your contribution. And we'll open the floor to some comments. Go ahead, Althea. Go ahead. Unmute.
I just wanted to say I was kind of disappointed at the ending because it seemed as though she's still fighting to emerge. The new woman hasn't emerged yet. And so, yeah, I was hoping at the end she would, become that butterfly and fly off and be her new self. But I guess it takes quite a long time for us to break out of our cocoons. Or maybe she lived in a different time and couldn't be herself and has to wait for a while. Time maybe will be the liberator. Okay. Anyway, that's enough from me.
Thank you, Althea. Anybody else? Well, because we have quite a full roster here, we'll move on to Jenny-Lyn James from her memoirs. Where are my car keys? Jenny-Lyn?
Okay, thanks so much, Heather.
Okay.
I'm going to read a few passages from a book that I wrote when my mother passed away, Symptoms of Alzheimer's Disease, and it's called Where Are My Car Keys? If you can see this. But I have a kind of a poll for the group today. Would you like a sad passage or humorous passage?
Maybe humorous.
Humorous. Okay, then.
Humorous.
All right. So now my mother suffered from Alzheimer's for almost 12 years. So we saw her slow demise between 2006 when we first saw signs and symptoms until she passed away in 2018. So I was living in Ireland when we first saw signs and symptoms, and she had come to visit me 2006, but it continued. And I'm going to read one passage from a time where I had moved to Toronto and then I had come back to Trinidad for Carnival. So I'll read that passage first. In the years following her retirement, my mother held the position of president of the Senior Achievers Association, a group consisting primarily of retirees who still had a zest for life. Mommy had been involved in planning various parties and outings. Even after she had left her post at the association and showed signs of Alzheimer's, my sister and I took turns in taking her to the annual Senior Achievers Carnival party in Port of Spain. So on my trip back to Trinidad one year, I planned to take her to that carnival Sunday afternoon dance, where she could have fun with her peers. Mommy's car was at the repair shop for many days and she couldn't drive, so my brother promised to give us a ride to the party and had made arrangements for a friend to bring us home. Unable to see her car in the garage, my mother became very upset and decided to walk to the mechanic shop that Sunday morning. Despite my best efforts, there was nothing that I could say or do to prevent her from making the trek in the blazing sun. I took her hand to guide her back into the house, but she was very strong and very angry. She threatened to punch me, and I had to let go. With a stick in one hand and a mission firmly cemented in her head, she made her way down the road to the mechanic's shop where her car was being repaired. The mechanic conducted his business from his front yard. But on that very day, the residents on the street in Diamond Vale de Gomartin were hosting a carnival breakfast party. My concern was all the people, the DJ, the noise, and the mechanic's dogs. But I couldn't stop her. That mechanic better have my car ready, she threatened. He's had it for days. So she made her way down the street. I tried to reach my brother who was attending the party, couldn't get in contact with him. After about half an hour, I saw Mommy walking back up the street, full of energy, just like when she left. She said she hadn't seen the mechanic and there was too much noise. Well, what a relief. I served her some lunch and a cold drink, and I said, okay, Mommy, it's time to get change for the party. Change for what? She asked, puzzled. Remember, you're going to the party this afternoon. It's your favorite carnival dance, I told her. Time to change your clothes. I'm not changing my clothes, she said stubbornly. Yes, you are. You can't go in the same clothes that you wore all morning. I coaxed, I pleaded, I begged for 15 minutes, and eventually I gave up. It wasn't worth the fight. A great deal of patience is needed with someone suffering from Alzheimer's disease, and I was not really blessed with the patience. Where are we going? She asked half an hour later. We're going to the Senior Achievers Carnival dance, I said, for the umpteenth time. That's your favorite carnival party, remember? You'll get to dance and see all your friends. We were forced to explain the same thing quite a few times in the car on the way to the event. When we arrived, Mommy walked slowly through the gates as I gave her tickets. Hi, Gloria, how are you? Asked a few elderly ladies and gentlemen. Fine, thanks, my mother answered, although I got the impression she didn't really know who these people were. I was lucky to see 2 empty chairs at a table near the entrance as soon as we walked in. Mr. and Mrs. O'Dowd, our childhood friends, occupied 2 seats at the table, so I was happy to see them and chat a little. They gave Mommy a frigid stare and a cold shoulder, and I felt some tension. She said hello with a big smile, but she didn't recognize them. Mommy must have slighted them in the past, but I didn't know the story. Surely they recognized she was not mentally stable. They were of sound mind, just like most of the partygoers. Was my mother the only one suffering from a form of dementia at that event? If the elderly were not able to recognize dementia in their peers, well, other members of the public would surely be no better. The soca music was blaring and my mother got onto the dance floor immediately, joining 3 other dancing souls. Arthritis or not, in her knocking knees, she didn't seem to mind. I saved her seat for her with a bag and spoke to a few friends around. She came to sit for a while. I brought her some food and drinks, and then she was back on the dance floor. At 4:30, a friend came to collect us and take us home. And she did her 2-step as we walked out of the party. And the DJ had played favorites from the 70s and 80s, and she was very happy. At last, we returned home, and Mommy got ready for bed. She was tired and needed no coaxing to have a shower and get dressed for bed. "Oh, my knees hurting me," she said in a bit of pain. "Why my foot hurting me so much?" "That's because you danced a lot at the party," I explained. "You enjoyed the music so much you could hardly sit down." "Party? What party? I went to a party?" So that's, we had to explain to her over and over. I mean, sometimes it was funny, but sometimes it was frustrating. She never remembered anything.
Yeah.
Okay, the next little passage I'll read. Eventually, we had to put my mom in a senior's home because I lived in Canada. My sister lived in the US. My brother was in Trinidad. We couldn't take care of her, and she couldn't stay alone in her house. It got to that stage. And at the senior home contacted us sometime to say, she wasn't eating and they didn't know what to do. And she wasn't responding well. So we had to take her to the hospital. So we ended up in an ambulance at Port of Spain General Hospital. And we'd go to see her during visiting hours. And, I always looked around at all the characters during visiting hours, and there are quite a few that you would see every morning at the hospital. So I have a passage just talking about some of the characters that you would see at Port of Spain General. Days at the Ward, that's the name of this passage. "It's the nuts, man. Salt and fresh cashew nuts, kumar rice cake. Salt and fresh cashew nuts, kumar rice cake." And he went on and on like that for a few hours. The roadway exiting the hospital was filled with vendors who plied their trade as hospital staff and visitors entered and left every day. Some vendors paid for space in a wooden building where they sold all manner of snack food and drinks. Others would set up a makeshift table at the side of the pavement and take a chance, especially targeting families as they came and went during visiting hours. There was the nuts man who sat with his tray of miscellaneous plastic bags filled with goodies. The doubles man and the pie man attracted a line of customers early in the morning as people entered the hospital grounds and needed breakfast. I was a bit skeptical about buying food from these people who handle food and money with the same hands and dexterity. No hand washing facilities were visible for miles around. The herbs man pulled up in a pickup truck, opened the tray, and called on the party.
Doing okay there.
What's that? The herbs man pulled up in a pickup truck, opened the tray, and called on departing hospital staff, as well as the hundreds of families on their way out at 6 p.m. His spoken English was impeccable compared to that of the other vendors who spoke in broken English. He explained the virtues of his herbs to anyone who would listen. Small plants were ready for transplanting in the garden or could be harvested fresh from the windowsill in the kitchen. A woman sold slices of cake from a tray on the edge of the car park: sponge cake, black fruit cake, lemon cake. They were large, tempting slices for anyone who felt hungry on the way out. The parking lot security staff were a strange breed. It was their job to make the free parking lot at the hospital as difficult as possible for all visitors. The lot was open early in the morning, and cones were placed in some of the best and most convenient spots along the edge of the parking lot, so nobody could use these spots. Only when the worst spots were filled would they begrudgingly move the cones. This caused great frustration and ire in many visitors. The side for staff parking seldom filled up, but no one was allowed to park on that side of the parking lot unless you could somehow make friends with the attendant. The parking staff all went home at 6 p.m. sharp, locking the gate to exit the visitors' parking lot onto the nearby street. This time also coincided with the end of visiting hours, when a mass exodus from the hospital entered their cars to leave, creating long lines of traffic for the one narrow roadway leading out of the hospital on the other side. The gate closure at 6 p.m. defied logic. One morning, a frustrated relative who had parked on the street nearby walked through the parking lot at the end of visiting hours and saw the cones still fixed in spaces near the edge of the parking lot. She decided to challenge the bossy-looking attendant for not allowing people to park in the space. Suddenly, a huge argument broke out, and it turned ugly. Why are you so stupid? You have the cones in the space and people have to park outside. Ma'am, mind your business and keep walking, said the attendant. Well, that comment really irritated the woman, who decided to spend another 10 minutes berating the parking lot attendant. That is why you still working in a parking lot. You're uneducated and it's the only job you could get, said the irate visitor. Ma'am, I said to mind your business. I'm in charge of this parking lot. What the hell? I sure you don't even own a car. You're too blasted stupid. Why the hell you don't give people a space to park? I have to walk quite outside and you hogging up all the spaces in here. The visitor was fuming. The women argued back and forth, and it seemed like a fist fight could break out at any moment. The visitor was not backing down. I asked my sister to drive out quickly so we wouldn't get caught in any traffic. That would be the result of a fight. The sun was beating down on us. The morning dew had long burned off, and we were trying to back out of this space. As we backed out slowly, we barely missed an elderly woman with a short afro who walked through the parking lot. She was dressed in a pink cotton nightgown on her way somewhere. She walked with purpose, and in my assessment, she could not have been very ill. However, she sported her hospital tag on her wrist and was a patient. The old woman decided to walk directly behind our cars. We tried to leave. Well, we were to see her 9 a.m. sharp every single morning when we went to the hospital. She was a hospital regular. A week after my mother was admitted to the hospital, I saw a nurse ceremoniously approach with a name tag and place it on my mother's wrist. I couldn't believe that after a full week of occupying a bed on the ward and being taken to the X-ray lab and other locations in the hospital, she was only then getting a name tag. Suppose she was left by an attendant on her stretcher in the wrong X-ray room. Nobody would have known who she was. Suppose she could have been Jane Doe in the hospital. She couldn't speak for herself, and only on a good day by some miracle would she state her name emphatically and then doze off. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Progress was being made at the hospital, but one could not rush the staff. It will happen, but when? That became our mantra. The same week, we noticed an X-ray film tucked neatly in the corner of the foot of her bed. However, on examining the large envelope, I also noticed there was another envelope tucked into the foot of her bed. It had the name Mr. Mirage neatly printed at the front. My brother and I looked at the envelope in shock, and we hoped that no diagnosis was being made on my mother related it to the chest X-ray results of Mr. Mirage. The end. I have more jokes, but
Well, I can
Very entertaining, very entertaining.
I can certainly identify with the first story, the first passage.
yes.
Like Arlene, before this meeting, I had to visit my wife at the nursing home, which I do every second day. And
Okay.
she also is struggling with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
But in her case, although she's confused 80% of the time, it's an interesting pathology in that the part of her brain that deals with humor is fully intact.
Oh.
And she can say funny things that are appropriate and sharp. For example, I was telling some people there how I was shaking this guy's hand, and he had this moist, limp mortician's handshake. And she popped up, "Are you sure it was his hand you were shaking?" You know, so, so I can identify with the
Yes,
passage
yes,
there. And it's a slow process, a slow death.
yes, yes.
And this is a 12th year going on.
Yes, yes, it is. We did have to find ways, I would say, well, added some humor into what was happening. Otherwise, you cry every day.
Mhm.
So, writing the book was cathartic. She died January 2018, and for the rest of the year, I just try to remember, all the different things that happened, all the experiences in different places, different countries, and then leading up to, her demise
Yeah.
at the end. But it was quite healing to write the stories. That's what I found.
Yeah, I keep a diary, so maybe that's
Yeah.
something later.
Any other comments? Oh, yes, Olvia. Yeah.
Yeah, my comment is my husband also suffers from the same thing. And yeah, writing is a good way. It's cathartic.
Yes.
Writing is a good way to deal with it and get it out. And yeah, it's good to talk about it because yeah, it's better than keeping all of this frustration inside and the things that you have to do and witnessing the deterioration of someone who has been a part of your life for so long can be crushing at times.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing.
You're most welcome. I even did a children's book, an illustrated children's book, because I couldn't find any children's books about Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
And so I would watch my nephews talk about Granny pinched me, Granny did this, Granny doesn't even know my name. And I thought, you know what? I will write the children's book. So I did, and I had it translated into several languages, and I did the illustrations.
Is that on Amazon?
Yes.
What's it
I
called?
had it translated into 8 languages, Spanish.
What's it called? What's the title?
Let me bring it. 2 seconds.
Well,
Yes,
she
so
can write it in the chat.
Is that my granny? Is that my granny?
Okay.
Is that my granny? So it just shows the various stages, first granny is nice and fat until granny gets, to be a broomstick. Because they couldn't believe that granny got so skinny. Granny didn't know their names.
Yeah.
And, at the beginning, they were plotting against Granny. She pinched me. She did. So they were plotting against, I used to hear them, why did she do that? Until Granny couldn't even speak, and she was in a wheelchair. So they saw her demise,
Yeah.
well, in their teenage years. So they saw when they were little until they became teenagers, and then she died.
Yeah.
Jerry-Ann, it's really, that's a wonderful stories that you just told there. I think it's very hard for people that's dealing with a loved one that is going through. I mean, I'm saying something that's obvious. I remember there was a time in my life when I worked as, well, I was a volunteer in a hospital in New York.
Yes.
And most of the patients were terminally ill cancer patients. And there were it was a time when a lot of AIDS patients were coming in also.
Oh.
But I remember there was this one woman that I would go and I would visit. And I remember her son came into the room while I was there. And he said to me, she was Chinese, and she said to me, she's speaking to me in Chinese. And so he said to me, she thinks you're her daughter.
Yes.
And I mean, I've been visiting her a lot. And I mean, one of the things that I guess, I don't know if it was just instinct or what, but even dealing with any of these patients, I sort of like just went into the space that they were in. I mean, I didn't try to like say, well, no, I'm the volunteer person. I sort of went into whatever space they were in and sort of responded to them with whatever was happening at the moment.
Right.
And I kind of like think that for people that are going through Alzheimer's, or they're in a space. I mean, I think that if I'm not talking about, it's hard to do, right? But I'm thinking that if I have that experience, and I could, definitely, how it is to be able to step away and not sort of like hold on to what I'm missing, what that person was to me back then.
Yes.
And to be able to kind of just step into that space where they're at right now and how rich that experience is. But I think that can be very difficult.
Yes,
but wouldn't
yes,
that be
yeah.
something that I could that I could work on, to work to, you know what I mean? But this is wonderful.
You just have to accept them as they are. And what I found too, she had moments of consciousness where she understood everything that was going on. And so it's not a good idea to speak at the patient, but speak to them directly. And I noticed some people were speaking about her, and I say, don't do that.
Right.
She's a person.
There. Yeah.
She's a real person. Don't speak about her or speak at her like she's not real.
Right.
Because there were some, let's say, caregivers who would speak about her like she was just a dead brick, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not fair, because she did have moments. I remember one senior's home. I don't want to take up too much time, but there was one attendant who would do exercises, and he was a big muscular fella, very good looking. And the nurses could never get mommy to kick out her legs. But if Felix said, Gloria, stretch your arms, kick your legs, Gloria did it because she recognized a good looking man. So that was a classic joke. We say, mommy knows a good looking man when she sees one. And she would respond, Felix said, stretch your arms, Gloria. She would do it. She would do it. So I always tell people, don't speak at or about an Alzheimer's patient, because you don't know what they're thinking, and they have moments of consciousness. I saw it, Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful stories, Jenny Lynn. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you when you're on. Now we will move on to Arlene, who will recite a poem by Judith Kroll, Your Clothes. Go ahead, Arlene.
Yes. Hi, hello, everyone. Judith Kroll, this poem, I sort of came across her poetry just within the last month or two. She's written, she explores themes of loss and attachment. She did a poetry collection called Our Elephant and That Child. And also what she did was, she was a scholar of Sylvia Plath, who wrote the novel The Bell Jar, and who maybe most people know her as someone who committed suicide when in 1963. But she wrote her PhD thesis, dissertation was on a piece that was called The Chapters in Mythology, the Poetry of Sylvia Plath. But what I loved about this poem here, it's spare and it's intimate. And I lost my mother about 8 years ago, and so it sort of spoke to me. Of course, they are empty shells, without hope of animation. Of course, there are artifacts. Even if my sister and I should wear some, or if we give others away, they will always be your clothes without you, as we will always be your daughters without you. Thank you.
Very short and very poignant, Arlene. As you say, it's very spare, but it
Yeah,
carries the weight of meaning.
yeah, yeah. Very strong symbolism there. Your clothes.
Yeah, my mom sewed. My mom was in Trinidad, she made clothes. She was a seamstress. And then when she came to New York, she was a designer. So I very much connect with the clothes that she made. And she, through her years when she was no longer interested in sewing or designing, she went on to make. She was an artist right through until she died. She went on to make bags, handbags, and then she went into she painted and stuff. So it just spoke to me. But anyway, thank you so much for listening.
Welcome.
We have about 15 minutes left, and we have Frank and Dolly to present a poem. Frank, did you have anything? Unmute there.
Sorry, just a short poem.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, and then we'll.
This poem was written like Arlene. I don't identify as a poet, so I would like to read the one by Langston Hughes. And for those of you who are not familiar, he was a prominent American poet, a social activist, a novelist, and a playwright. And his significant contributions were portrayal of the African American experience. And he was born in 1901, and he became a leading figure in the Harlem Renaissance, a cultural movement in the 1920s that celebrated African American culture through art and music. So he wrote this poem, and it's called Mother to Son. A mother is talking to her son. And what grabbed me in this poem is he used the metaphor of a staircase, climbing a staircase, going through life. And she's saying to her son, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's not a crystal stair that she's climbing. Don't you fall now, for I's still going on, honey. I's still climbing. So she's using the staircase in the poem to illustrate the difficulties in life. So this is a poem, Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't no crystal stair. It had its stacks in it, and splinters and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. All the time, I's been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set down on those steps, 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. I's still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So that's the advice from mother to son, using the staircase as a metaphor.
Yeah. And it's true, of course.
Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah.
Well, it touches on the hardships of um, many of the less fortunate people, especially the immigrants, and it holds the same way for people in Trinidad
Yes.
across there. And one thing, Langston Hughes have a lot of short stories about African American life of the African Americans. Yeah, a lot of very good stories. I have a collection somewhere.
But in my short lifespan, I just turned 79. Um, it's not just people who are struggling. I think it applies to even people who are so-called at the pinnacle of society, because everybody has their, as they might say in the church, crosses to bear.
Yeah.
Nobody's money doesn't buy happiness, and not everyone. Everyone has struggles to create their own happiness, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, asked me how old I was, and I said, well, at my age, when I see flowers, I get nervous.
Great, Frank. Well said.
It's just a number.
Talking about that, Heather, I think I have some news, not so, some of your relatives, one of the Ramchage Singh, I think I told you there was one of them who used to work with me. Well, he passed away about 2 days ago. So,
Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
in
Yes, we had a
Capichaima
big
there.
family there in central Trinidad. Yeah.
Yes. Just in Capichaima there. So I
Yes,
probably,
yes.
I'll probably be going down there a little later because we worked together for about 30 years.
Yeah. Well, give my condolences for whoever might remember the
Whoever
Moulton
might remember,
Sings.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So now we have, with the little time we have left, we have 10 minutes. I don't know if Dolly has anything for us.
Yes, Dolly has a poem, and there's some new person there. I don't know. Check and see if
Yeah,
she's
I
still
don't
there.
see
She
him
said,
there anymore, but yeah, I
okay, well,
didn't see him on the, but Dolly's ready to go. So go ahead,
Okay.
Dolly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Frank, I really like that icebreaker you have there, you made there, because I am just swimming in the ocean among you great people, all literary people, and I'm just getting my grounding here. So I have a little poem here, and it is entitled My Mother, just like Cynthia's own, I think. Mother, you were my earthly goddess. Your soft auric hues illumined our home, comforting radiant vibrations of peace and grace where I never felt alone. Gentle yet forthright, you admonished, you taught to be truthful, to be grateful, to give unto others everlasting comfort. You were the little lamp that cast a tender glow, yet you could be lightning that would zap till tomorrow. When life grew hard, your love never failed. Heroically strong, you never weakened, and then I saw your eyes grew pale. Without you, mother, life is like a chariot with only one wheel. Life is not a torture, yet somehow something is amiss, I feel. Mother, I can bring you the prettiest rose in the world, but without you here, my life feels like a rose devoid of fragrance, and that pain rests deep within my soul. Thank you.
Good.
Beautiful poem, Dolly. Very
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I
And
must
a
say I'm
nice
happy
tribute.
to see Arlene in person. Yeah.
I may have to leave at 3. So
Yes.
if we end here, because my children are all gathering outside, wondering when am I going to come out of this room? Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
thank
Okay.
you very much.
yeah.
Thank you,
Well, you
Dolly. I
know,
love your poem. Thank you. Nice meeting
Wonderful
you.
poem.
Thanks.
yes, yes, yes. Sometimes, Aline, sometimes we have to be first, and sometimes we have to be last.
Last.
But it was very nice. Here, and one thing as you was reciting, I remember something that I said earlier with Sundar Popo's song, and he talked about mothers, and he said, God says to worship her
Mm.
before you come to me. And a thought went through my mind, sometimes growing up, especially in a home that was poor and all that, you get a lot of licks,
Mm.
but you do not hate your mother. You still love,
It's
after
a
you
lovely-
love the most, you love your mother. And similarly, you're going to school and the teacher beating you, but you like the teacher best. So
Well,
sometimes, I don't know. That is
on the
my
ki-
time, Frank. Mine and your time.
on the kitchen
my
wall in
time
my
too. My time as well.
on the kitchen wall in Trinidad, where I grew up, we had these large a wooden fork and a wooden spoon, about 1.5 feet long. But that was never used for salads. It was used on my backside.
Oh,
You know,
that's
I've
what
never seen her use it on salads.
you had a swizzle stick in your house too. Swizzle stick was popular.
And I had my mouth washed out with blue soap for no reason whatsoever.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if anybody ever get a sapat. If you know what a sapat.
Yeah,
A sapat is a wooden clog
wooden
that
sole.
with a wooden sole and a piece of tire, and you make a foot thing in it. And I get 2 sapat from the grandmother.
Now, I was afraid of licks, so I did everything right. But my sister, the middle child, middle child syndrome, she got the most licks in our house.
The funny thing, I can't remember my father. Once I think my father took up my school book and saw some red X's, and he gave me one belt. But other than that, my mother was the beater.
Well, we had a good hibiscus bush in our yard there in Pinal, and they used to send you to cut your own switch.
Yes.
So
Yes,
true.
one bring the whip, bring it.
Yeah.
Especially, we lived in the north, and my grandmother lived in La Brea, and it was a long drive on the southern main road. There was no highway at the time. And Daddy would say, just go pick a whip and you put it on the dashboard, and any noise in the back, you will get it. You just reach for the switch. So we had to behave and just look out the window, the long drive to La Brea from Diego Martin. The good old days.
Good old days is right. And no seat belts.
Oh,
Yes.
no, I can't even remember a seatbelt. No.
No seatbelt.
No,
We
the
had a
cars
ve-
never had
no.
seat belts.
We had a very, very old prefect with no seats. And my father used to sit on a bar stool to drive the car.
Wow.
It wasn't even attached to the floor.
Oh my God. I think we had a Morris Marina. I remember that name, Morris Marina.
That's a relatively new car. That car came out in 1971, 72. The
That is
Marina.
the Morris Minor, I think.
We had the Morris Minor, yeah.
Oh, yes.
They
Yeah.
had the Morris Minor, then the Austin and Morris Oxford,
Yeah.
and then the Morris Marina, which came out in about 1972, 73.
All right. That's all I
I know a bit
remember.
about cars.
Okay.
Heather,
That's all I
Heather,
remember. And a
Heather,
Cortina.
Yeah,
Heather,
go ahead.
Yes.
can I ask you all to indulge me a little? I know I didn't say I'm going to read anything
Go ahead.
up front, but I was waiting for everybody to do their piece and be invited if I had something to read. So I'll use this opportunity to end, well, not to end, to read this piece on the
Yeah, go
occasion of
ahead.
on the occasion of Mother's Day. So this is a sonnet, so it shouldn't take long. It's just 140 syllables. It's entitled A Tale of Two Sisters. My mother's name with her sister's perfect rhymed, like twins. To wed in status legal, their parents each was blessed with a select name shared by the ones of the most regal to walk the earth. My mother walked the aisle with one after the saint of the mixed named. Her sister, her mate found with one whose style recalls the one within a den unmaimed. These sisters bid their hometown in the east farewell to travel west and settle down with their loves. 7, each made like a feast to the spouse in the suburb of the town. The first to cross the road to heaven's gate was my mother's sister. Long was her wait. Thank you. So a little teaser. If I say my mother's name with her sister's perfect rhyme, and if I say her sister was Pearl, what would be my mother's name? Just a teaser to you all.
Merle.
Correct. Correct. Go to the head of the class.
Was it Merle?
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you.
Yes, Merle.
Okay.
Merle.
Heather got
Merle.
it.
No,
Two
Arlene, what,
sisters.
Oh, Ali.
Two sisters.
Arlene?
What happened? What happened? Two sisters married two brothers.
Oh, yeah.
The sisters were from Sandy Grande, and they ended up living in Belmont with their spouses. And each made, as the poem said, seven children each had with their spouse. So I read this from Ruminations, a book of sonnets on the occasion of Mother's Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Krishna. And that's a great way to close off our program on Mother's Day. Thank you all for coming. And Gersha, did you want to wrap things up? I don't know what the next. I think
don't know if
we do the Indian Arrival Day.
Yeah, that's coming up
Okay.
now. I believe on
yes,
the.
and
Go ahead, Muti.
if anybody can't get on the Zoom, Gusha comment and see. Gusha promised that we'll be on the Zoom. So Gusha, I'm putting your notice and letting everybody know. So you better come down there in the library.
Yes, I shall be there, God willing. I'm intending to be there to run the Zoom.
Yeah, because I sent a poem in, so that's the only way I can say it is by Zoom.
So
yes,
that
yes,
will be
I'm working on the program now, so it's gonna be a grand affair. Thanks.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and Mubulal is doing all the planning for it, so it's going to be a good time.
Thank you all
Okay.
so much for your
Bye.
contributions.
Thanks. It was a good session. Bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye. Take care.